Hey guys, welcome back to Hike Oregon. In today's video, I'm going to go over how I logistically plan my car camping road trips. As you guys know, over the spring, summer, and early fall seasons, I take a lot of car camping road trips to do research for either my hiking guidebooks and or the website. Because Oregon is such a large state, it just makes sense to go to certain places that are far away from me and stay there for like a week at a time and do a bunch of hikes. My trips are usually between 4 and 7 days. 7 days is pretty much the max for me. After 7 straight days of hiking, I am absolutely exhausted. So I try to keep it under 7 days. 4 to 5 days I found is like the perfect amount of time for me. But I have been on a few trips that have been about 7 days. Because these trips are for work and research purposes, it's not just like a vacation. So I have to go on these trips already having everything planned out so that I'm not wasting my time at these places. I know this is probably not your norm as far as most of you who are planning car camping trips and excursions. You're gonna probably take it a little more leisurely because you are going on vacation, whereas I am not on vacation and I have to kind of maximize my time at these places. But I hope that maybe some of these little things that I do to plan for these long excursions will help you in your car camping and excursion planning as well. So the first thing I do to start planning one of my trips is I go through my hiking guidebooks that I have, as well as some maps. So some of my favorites, of course, are William Sullivan and any book by Matt Reeder. Excellent. They're both just amazing resources, and Sullivan has books for all over the state, so that is helpful. And some of the maps that I like the Green Trails maps. They're really good. The National Geographic ones are obviously also really good. And then my personal favorite are the adventure maps. I have all of their Oregon area maps that they have. I absolutely love them. So yeah, that's what I do. I just go through books and maps. This last trip I was researching lake hikes. So I basically go through all of this and just write down a bunch of options. Now, I know Matt Reeder personally. You can just text him and ask him, hey, which out of this list are the best. Otherwise, I just check pictures and stuff like that to see if the hikes are even worthwhile. You know, some hikes, especially in older guidebooks, like my Sullivan guidebooks are older. Some of the trails don't even exist anymore, or they're just not spectacular like they used to be. Maybe trees have grown into a view or something like that. I do a lot of research online as well after I have picked a list of hikes from maps and guidebooks. So after I've made my list of hikes, I start to narrow it down a little bit, and I see which hikes are close together, which hikes are the most mileage. You know, I only have a certain number of days for the trip, so I just make sure to be realistic about what I can fit into those days. I've definitely gone on trips where I had a list of hikes and I definitely have overdone it and tried to fit too much into one trip. Lately, I've been more realistic on what I can do in a day. Then it is time to look at nearby campgrounds. If I am traveling by myself, I do prefer to camp at a campground versus off of a random spur road or something like that. If you are in an area where there are plenty of snow parks, you can actually utilize those for summer car camping, and it's free. And they have amenities. They don't have water, so you do have to bring your water, but they do have amenities like bathrooms and trash service. So then I make my itinerary. As you can see here, the mileage. Basically, I write down how many miles to and from camp the hikes are. I really try to do as little driving as possible on these trips just because they are so far away from me. And a lot of the time, I mean, this Mount Hood trip wasn't the case, but like my Southern Oregon trip, there was no gas nearby because I was in the mountains for 4 full days. The less driving, the better. Otherwise, I would run out of gas potentially. I also make note of what campsite I'm at, and then also what meals I'm going to have that night so that I can be really organized with what I'm bringing. And then if I am coordinating with anyone joining me on any of these hikes, I write that down too, as well as if I'm going to have cell phone coverage. And I will show you guys how I see if I'm going to have cell phone coverage here in just a second. I use Gaia for that. So within the Gaia application here on the computer, you can just go to add map layers. And then unless you've interacted with it recently, you can just search cell coverage and it'll come up. I chose to show you guys Verizon just because it is one of the most popular and strongest cell phone carriers here in Oregon. You just hit plus and you'll see the overlay go over the map. The different shades of pink mean different things. So the darker shade means LTE, and then there's 4G and 3G. And this is pretty accurate. I had pretty good service here at White River Snow Park when I went there just a few weeks ago. And while I might have some phone service at camp, you know you probably don't have phone service in the mountains. So I always like to print my directions. I also take like one of those big atlas map things with me that have all the roads on it. But I do print the directions and I go over the directions with a map before I go to make sure I don't get lost. And actually this really helped me on this last trip because there are so many random back roads and none of them are marked in the Mount Hood area. So doing this really helped me on this last trip and I actually didn't get lost once. I also print out any hike write-ups that may be available to me. I really like the website Oregon Hikers. Just copy and paste the text and I just print it out on this sheet with the directions. Unless it's in one of my hiking guidebooks, then I have that with me as well. And then last but not least, I do pin the trailhead onto my Gaia map. Just in case I got lost. Let's say the directions were total shit and a road, doesn't go through or something like that. I have it pinned on the Gaia app, and the Gaia app works without service if you pre-download the area. It has all the roads on it and you can see other ways to go. This was particularly helpful on my last trip to the Mount Hood area because there had been a couple roads closed for a fire last year, and the roads were still closed, and so we had to go around, but there was an easy detour that we were able to see on Gaia and still get to the trailhead because I had pinned it onto my Gaia map. So doing this really helps, especially in an area you are not familiar with, which if you're going on a trip like this, you're likely going to a new area. So it's really helpful to make sure you have all of your resources and all of your directions to make sure that you can get to these awesome hikes once you're there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments below. Keep in mind, I will be making a full how to use the Gaia GPS system. So some of these things I showed in this video will probably be a little easier to navigate once I make that video as well. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next adventure.